Hello everyone, let's start to try a different way of doing a live. Daphne, can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear Daphne? I'm asking them. Wait. I'm inviting Marco. Marco, hello. So everyone can hear Daphne. Daphne, say something just to test.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can hear you.
Yeah, we managed! Creativity, people, creativity. We need to be super. Okay, we will do it like that.
Rita, yeah, you turn your camera off. I can see you.
Sorry?
I can see you.
You...
Did you turn your camera off?
No, I didn't. It's okay, but now we can all hear each other, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great.
I can see Rose now.
So, Daphne's here. You cannot see, but she's here. Daphne, would you like to say hi, just so people know you're here?
Hi, I'm here.
Yay. Well done.
Not visible, but you're here. So just a little resume. We tried to make this live a few times, but Daphne was having Wi-Fi problems, and so we had to improvise. And here we are with Daphne on the phone, on the speaker, and she will be able to answer to your questions and to make the whole chat like this. So yeah, it's good to have some creativity. Thanks for the tip that someone gave us, because I was not thinking about this solution. So we are doing this live, and I'm sorry for the people who are listening this for the third time. So we are doing this live chat today because it's the World Parkinson's Day, and we want to raise awareness about the B1 therapy that has been improving our life quality. This live chat is for information only. We are no doctors, just Parkinson patients who have been doing the B1 therapy for some time and would like to share our personal experience with you. If someone is seeking for medical advice, should ask their doctors. If someone decides to start this therapy, should always inform their doctors about it. If you have questions during the live, please write them down on the question mark button on the bottom of your screen. Keep the questions short, please. If the questions are long, there's a Facebook page hosted by Daphne, and she'll be able to read and answer with time. Yeah, Daphne will explain what are the most common mistakes that people do. So please wait for that part before you ask the questions. But use this button, because otherwise, if you ask questions in these comments, we might miss them, and we don't want to miss your questions. So, Daphne, would you like to start introducing yourself?
My name is Daphne Bryan. I'm from the UK. I'm living in Scotland. I'm 75, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson 14 years ago. And I've been on the B1 therapy for 7 years.
Great. And you wrote a very important book. Want to tell us already a little bit about it?
The book I wrote to go with the therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah. There were two main reasons why I wrote the book. And one was to spread the word about the B1 therapy, because it has helped me so much. I wanted to share my good news. And the second reason I wrote it was because it's not a straightforward therapy, not one size fits all. So the book provides a protocol to help people find success and make the B1 therapy work for them. I'm not a medical person, but I am a teacher, so I'm used to explaining things. And I had written a book before on Parkinson's, and so I knew I could write a book. And the book has now sold 20,000 copies
Wow.
in 12 languages. So the languages that are currently out are English, French, Dutch, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Norwegian, Ukrainian, Russian, Bulgarian, Korean, and we've got a Mandarin Chinese about to come out, and we've got an audio version in English. And in case anybody thinks I must be getting rich, the profits from the book go to fund future research. And so far, nearly 24,000 euros have been donated from the profits of the book.
Unbelievable. We
Brilliant.
will talk a little bit about more about that. Rose, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'll just do a short one this time. I'm still Rose Donaldson. I'm still 58, and I was diagnosed about 8 years ago, 2016. Obviously, I had symptoms about 3 years before. I used to be long haul cabin crew. I'm also in Scotland, about 10 minutes away from Daphne. Yeah, so I started the B1 therapy when I met Daphne about 2 years ago, and I've been on and off it since then. When I say off it, I've just been taking breaks every few months, maybe every 6 months. And that's kind of how I can tell whether it's working or not when I take the breaks, and I either feel good or bad. So I felt very good on it, I have to say, and it helps smooth out my off times and lengthen out the on times for medication.
Mm-hmm. So thank you so much. So Marco now is also having some technical issues. So I will go on. My name is Rita. I'm 40 years old. I was diagnosed last year. I'm the newbie here when it comes to the B1 therapy. I just started doing the B1 therapy in October last year. And like Rose, it helps with the on times. I try also other medications besides levodopa, and none of them help me with the on times, and especially with the energy. And this is something that most of the people report the levels of energy increase shortly after they start B1 therapy and after they follow the protocol and the rules. Yeah, so I'm a mother of a 7-year-old girl. I'm a jewelry designer, so it's important to keep the symptoms controlled. Otherwise, I have a hard time to work. And yeah, I think this B1 therapy is helping me a lot because when I'm tired, I cannot do half of the things that I can do when I'm on it. Mm-hmm. And when I reach the sweet spot, which I had luckily the experience to reach, I felt like I didn't have Parkinson's, and my doctor was very surprised about it. Mm. So that's why I had the idea to host this chat, because I think not enough people talk about it, and I think should be something more that we should discuss more, and we should spread the word more because it may help others. I don't know about Marco. Marco, where are you? Okay, I'm inviting Marco. Just a second. Marco was here, but disappeared.
Maybe let Daphne continue with the protocol while we're waiting. Or oh, there you go.
Okay. If he's not joining, let me just try again. To add Marco. If he's not here, well, he will say he's here with his famous chair. You have to turn the camera.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Now it's a bit dark. Cannot see you. Wait. Okay, now we can see you, and it's bright, beautiful. Yeah. So you want to tell us about yourself? We are in the introductions mode. Again.
Okay.
You're still Marco, and you're still 50.
Okay. Okay.
For who just joined you, it's the third or
Yeah.
fourth time we are doing this. So, Mark, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Marco. I'm a teacher from Portugal. I'm 15 years old. I have Parkinson's from 16 years ago. Diagnosed 15 years ago, 1 year before, 1 year after the first symptoms. I do the B therapy from 5 years now, and I think it's really been helping me to stay at the bay with the disease. I think the rest since I was doing the B1 therapy. And what else?
You run.
I'm a runner. Yeah, even after 16 years of Parkinson, I'm still running. I wrote a book about that.
Oh,
That will be
right.
translated into English soon, right?
Yeah, it's in the process of translation to English and to French too. I have first, this will be the English
Oh, right.
version
Yeah.
in first hand.
Nice.
Running on hope.
Yeah, it's basically the story of my life with Parkinson's. I've been submitted to a brain surgery also, not the DBS, but the focus ultrasound surgery, which really helped me also. And I think the choices I've made about exercise and the food and everything, it's all on the book, and it explains my process with this disease. And so I think that's it.
And you translated Daphne's book, and that's how I got to know about Daphne's book with your translation.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, I made the translation to
yeah. So
Portuguese.
Daphne, are you listening? Can you hear us?
I can hear you and I'm listening.
Perfect. So just so you know, the people who just arrived, Daphne is here because she cannot join due to technical issues. But can you tell us about the history of the therapy so we can all have an idea of the context?
The history.
Yeah.
Well, we have to thank an Italian neurologist called Dr. Antonio Costantini. He became interested in high doses of B1 in 2011, and he treated the man with spinocerebellar ataxia type 2. And that man's fatigue and motor symptoms improved. And Dr. Costantini hypothesized that symptom development in some inherited and degenerative diseases of the nervous system, like Parkinson's, was due to neuronal thiamine deficiency, not blood thiamine deficiency. And he had published 40 research studies on a dozen different health issues, which he treated with high doses of B1. Sadly, Dr. Costantini had a stroke and then developed COVID and died in May 2020. But we are very indebted to his fighting.
And Daphne, so you wrote the book after his death. So what was can you tell us about the motivations behind the book and the purpose of the book for you?
Well, I wanted to write the book for two main reasons. One was to spread the word, because I had discovered what B1 had done to my symptoms and how it had improved everything, and I wanted everybody with Parkinson's to know about it too. The second reason I wrote it was because the B1 therapy is not straightforward. It's not a one-size-fits-all, unfortunately. And so the book provides a protocol to help people find their successful dose. I'm not medically trained, but I am a teacher, so I'm used to explaining things. I'd written a book before, so I thought I could do it.
You did it.
So I did it, yes. And so 20,000 copies sold so far in 12 languages.
It's impressive. 20,000 at the moment. I remember 2 years ago, I listened to your interview in the No Silver Bullet for PD. And I think you said 2 years ago that you were very happy because you sold like 1,000 something books. And now 20,000. I think that also shows the interest and how people are spreading the word in a way behind the scenes, because you know it's a also the amount of sales of the book, and also the amount of people you have on your Facebook page, that it's almost 10,000. It really shows the interest and how efficient it can be for so many people, the therapy. So that's really impressive. And now, can you tell us what most of the people, especially who never read the book, can you tell us what is the protocol about? The protocol that you wrote on the book, the rules that we have to follow to do the therapy.
Right. So the problem with the big one is that if you don't take a dose large enough, you don't see any change. And if you take too much B1, temporarily you will have worsening symptoms. So you have to find the sweet spot between those two things. That sweet spot is the dose that stimulates symptom improvement. And when you find it, your symptoms can improve up to 70%. And it slows, if not stops, deterioration, progression of the disease. So I myself haven't really changed my medication for 7 years, so I can confidently say.
Sorry, can I interrupt? For how long you didn't change?
7 years.
Okay. Can I ask you to speak a little bit louder, because there's some interference and sometimes it's difficult to hear.
Yeah, so I haven't really changed my medication since I started B1 7 years ago. So the protocol is to help people find their sweet spot. So what we suggest they do is start on a dose, and the book suggests start doses. And you start on the B1, but keep on it for 4 to 6 weeks to give it time to see if it's going to make some positive changes. I must say first that there are various forms of administration of the B1. Some people use injection, or they use oral, or sublingual, which is putting a tab under your tongue, or they even use patches. So there are various ways you can get the B1 into your system, and there are advantages and disadvantages of each. For example, if you have problems swallowing, you wouldn't want to take the oral route, and it might be better to either use patches or sublingual. There are 2 other components of the therapy, magnesium and B complex, and it's best if they're started first for a couple of weeks. The magnesium will help the B1 work, and the B complex is because if you take a high dose of any B vitamin, then you have to support the other B vitamins or they become deficient. An important thing to do is to monitor daily. Some people think that it's going to be obvious they're getting better, but strangely enough, it's sometimes difficult for the person with Parkinson's to realize they're getting better. I myself didn't realize I was getting better until all my friends kept telling me that I was moving better. But I actually didn't notice myself, could you believe? But one day I smiled and the muscles by the side of my eyes scrunched up, and I thought, something is different here. This is a strange feeling. And my face, which had been quite masked, I was moving more muscles. So that to me was clear indication that I had found the right B1 dose, and I was in fact getting better.
Oh.
If you don't, sorry, can I just
yeah, continue.
If there are no improvements after you've been on a dose for 4 to 6 weeks, then you raise the dose and try a stronger dose. If at any time during the 4 to 6 weeks symptoms worsen, then you need to take a 1 to 2 week break and restart at a lower dose. If, however, you are lucky enough to see just one improvement, it's an indication that you have found your sweet spot. The overdose symptoms that I mentioned can be any symptom that worsens. It could be a sign of overdose. So it could be the tremor increases, or you're waking at night more, or you're anxious, or you feel agitation, or stiffness, or pain. Anything can be the sign that the B1 dose is too high. And people often say to me, what's the difference between B1 overdose and symptom deteriorating just because it's the natural progression of Parkinson's? Because we're so used to assuming that Parkinson's is going to get worse, that on the B1, if things start to go bad, we find ourselves saying, oh, well, that's just my Parkinson's getting worse. But I would suggest that there are 3 differences between an overdose, a sign of an overdose, and a sign of the natural progression. Firstly, in an overdose, the symptoms worsen quite quickly, almost overnight, which doesn't happen in the natural progression of Parkinson's. Secondly, there will have been a period of improvement before the overdose. So you can't get an overdose having not felt any improvement first. And thirdly, the big test is when you take a break, if the symptom that was bothering you, that had worsened, starts to improve, then it was an overdose, and you should restart at a lower dose.
Yeah, I think those are really, really important. And yeah, when you say it, seems simple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you tell us, and I think this is super important, can you tell us what are the mistakes that you read over and over on your Facebook page that people constantly make?
Well, one of them is that they don't allow enough time to trial a dose.
Yeah.
You know, you really do need 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because it takes time for the B1 to work, and it takes time for the subtle improvements to become visible. Another mistake is people don't monitor. They think they're going to have such a magical cure that it will be obvious to them. But the symptom improvements can be quite subtle. Another mistake, people make changes, other changes, like in their medication, or they try another therapy while they're trialing the B1. And then if symptoms improve, they don't know whether it was the B1 or something else they tried. So best not to muddy the waters. Keep everything else stable and just focus on trialing the B1 to get your correct dose. Another thing people do is they get impatient and they think they've had one dose producing one symptom improvement. So they think if they take double dose, they have double the symptom improvement, but it doesn't work that way. Normally, that ends up in overdose. Another mistake you make is not to take a long enough break. You have the overdose because your B1 levels are too high, and it takes a time for that to drop. And so if you don't take a long enough break, you start trialing a new dose when your thiamine levels are already very high from the previous. And lastly, some people don't take the magnesium and B complex as well. And I think that's important to take those because magnesium helps the B1 work.
I think, I made some of those mistakes for sure, but I will talk a little bit more about it. I just want to say it again. Please write your questions on the question mark on the bottom of your screen, because if you write on the comments, they will pass and we are not able to remember. I'm not writing down. I already saw one of two questions. Daphne, do you want to tell us a little about your path with the B1? You already mentioned that it was a little bit by chance, the dose that you start taking, and then suddenly you started to see some improvements. But how has been since then? How have you been changing your doses? What have you been doing?
Oh gosh, over 7 years, things have changed an awful lot. I mean, I started with a sublingual dose of 100 milligrams every day. And that was fine then because I hadn't read how to take sublingual tablets correctly. So when I was writing the book, I researched how to take sublingual tablets for the book and realized that I hadn't held the tablet under my tongue long enough. And so I started holding it under my tongue for 30 minutes, as was suggested and as I was suggesting in the book. And suddenly I was having a huge dose because I was allowing more time for this sublingual tablet to pass through into the bloodstream. So I remember going for a walk with a friend, and it felt as if I was walking through treacle. It was such hard work. And I said to her, this is ridiculous. I'm writing a book about the B1 therapy, how marvelous it is. And I'm just continually having overdose symptoms. But so now I take 12.5 milligrams every 6 days. Wow. And that's a huge drop. And I've done that in many steps. So I know now, for me, an overdose symptom is stiffer walking, more tremor, disturbed sleep. And so I've stopped straight away and reduced the dose. But I have done it many times.
Yeah. Breaks are really important.
I mean, the therapy is quite difficult to find your sweet spot. And then when you tell people, well, after you've worked for months and found your sweet spot, it might not last very long and you might have to start all over again. So it does sound like it's hard, but the book kind of lays it out. So if you follow what the book suggests, you should find your sweet spot. And the advantages are huge. I mean, for me now, I just don't know that I've got anything wrong with me. And after 14 years of Parkinson's, that's quite amazing.
It is.
Mm.
It is. Daphne, you want to add something else, or should we go on sharing our experience?
No, do go.
Okay, so maybe I go next, if you don't mind. Daphne, you're still here, so you can ask also and intervene in the conversation. So I consider myself a lucky person, because what is really hard with this protocol is to find the right dose. And even though, I mean, I have to be honest, I was very skeptical about this. Before I have to say, before I had Parkinson's, I was skeptical about any kind of supplements. I thought it was all placebo. And so I was like, no, that has to be placebo. Doesn't work. But you know what? Let's give it a try. So what happened is that I always felt, and I think my first non-Monter symptom way before I was diagnosed was tiredness. I always felt tired. I was waking up tired. I was going to bed tired. This has been a huge issue in my life. And then when I was diagnosed, and almost 1 year before I was diagnosed, my main symptom was I started to drag my right foot. And yeah, it became worse and worse. And then I started to become more slow and also more stiff. It started with the foot, then went to my hand, my right hand. And then I was diagnosed. I started taking levodopa. And the levodopa really helped me with the motor symptoms, even though I never managed to have more than 2-3 hours on with a dose of levodopa. And this was kind of an issue, because my doctor expected, you know, you're recently diagnosed, it should be longer, right? Like for the standards, but it never happened. And I was still tired. So the levodopa didn't help me with that. So what I did when I decided to start the B1 in the middle of September, and it's funny because I actually wrote a report that I gave to my doctor. I was not joking when I said it's important to tell to our doctors, even if they don't know what B1 is, because I believe we are also raising awareness. They actually don't know what it is, like many patients don't know. But the truth is, if they see many patients getting better, and because of the B1, they might develop some interest in it. And I think that's important, because more studies need to be done. And as more people are interested in those studies, there will be more chances that they will be done faster. So as I was saying, in the middle of September, I started taking what's written in the protocol, a complex B with very low doses of Bs. And this is really important, the low doses of B, because the B6 shouldn't be too high, like it's written in the book. And also magnesium. And I stay with the complex B and the magnesium for 2 weeks. And at the beginning of October, I started to take 100 milligrams of HCl B1. And after 3-4 days, my energy levels suddenly went to the roof. And I remember Marco followed this process. I got to know the therapy through Marco. And he said, this is the most common symptom that people report right away. You know, after the first days, the first week, the energy levels get much higher. And I was very happy with that, because that was kind of a long time problem that I had. And then let me read here. So after 1 week, my on periods, instead of 2-3 hours, became 4 hours, which was amazing. I was like, I must be very lucky, right? Because it seems that I was right on spot when it came to the dose, that in this case was 100. Then, but I still had, on the last hour of my walking and of the dose of the Cinemat, I could walk, but I still had a dystonic movement on my right foot. And in November, at the end of November, this dystonic movement disappeared. Another thing that disappeared was I started to have tremors on my left foot. And I know this because I forgot in meanwhile, but I sent a video to my doctor with the tremor of the foot, and she said, "Oh well, it's normal. It's part of the Parkinson's development. It's a small tremor. It's normal." But the truth is that since I'm taking B1, this tremor disappeared. At the end of December, I realized I was on my sweet spot. What Daphne said, it's a sweet spot because I had more than 4 hours on, and I felt so good, like if I didn't have Parkinson. And it was a coincidence that I had the neurologist appointment at that time, and she told me, "Rita, you look like you don't have Parkinson's because I don't see many symptoms." And she was surprised, because I didn't change any medication since August. And suddenly I was not doing crazy exercise. I was just exercising normally. And suddenly I was much better. So that's when she started to be interested about it. And meanwhile, I also offered her the book so she could got to know more things about the therapy. But then at the beginning of the year, all these great new things that happen, they disappear. And this is something important to say, like when we say that, and that was the overdose, right? When we say that the symptoms get worse, they don't get worse than when we started the B1. They just, what we want disappears, because some people are afraid, oh, I'm going to get even worse than before. No, that didn't happen to me. So I lost all these benefits, and from then on, I made a lot of mistakes. And I think it's important to share the mistakes, because if you're doing the therapy, you're making mistakes, you're not alone. So my first mistake was I reduced the dose for 50 milligrams. And I tried just for 3 days. So Daphne recommends between 4 to 6 weeks. And as you could hear from my experience, it took me 3 months to get to the sweet spot with 100 milligrams. But I wanted fast. I was not patient. I wanted that feeling as fast as possible. So 3 days, this doesn't work. Let's increase. So I increased, and of course there was no effect. So meanwhile, because I was, frustrated, like most of the people are when they start, they make mistakes, and and then I made the break. Also, like 3 days, and you have to make a break for at least two weeks. So what I did, I read again the book. I read about the book. I talked with Marco. And then I tried to do things right. First, I made a break of 2 weeks. What I felt was the sweet spot during the break. So if someone doesn't know what is the sweet spot but overdose, they will know when they do the break, because you really feel amazing on the break, which is a sign that I had too much B1 in my system. But after this amazing feeling during the break, you lose this, you also get worse, and you have to start a new dosage that should be lower. Right now, I made a big break. Right now, this week, I'm starting again with 50 milligrams, and I'm going to give it 1 month with 50 milligrams. But at the moment, I feel great because I did things right. But it's difficult. It's difficult to be patient, because the moment you feel amazing, you want to feel amazing right afterwards, And that's why we are so impatient, and that's why we don't wait enough time. So I think the biggest trick of this therapy is to give time to understand. And I actually got a question today from a friend who's also doing the therapy, and she increased the dose too fast. First mistake. Then second mistake, she was not taking the the complex B and the magnesium 2 weeks before. It's super important. The complex B she was taking had high doses of B6, which is against the protocol. The third mistake she did was she changed her Parkinson's medication. At the same time, she was trying to figure out her perfect dose of B1. Please write your questions on the question mark, okay? I really appreciate. But yeah, so this is my path. I learned. It's actually pretty simple, the protocol. It works. I was lucky because I got the right amount from the very beginning, but I know other people who were patient and they waited again like from 4 to 6 weeks to increase the dose, and step by step they felt improvements. And another thing is that sometimes we focus on the symptoms that are the most annoying, right? And I guess for most of the people, it's the on time that it's not long enough. But like I said, I had the tremor that it was starting and totally disappear. And I also gained energy that I didn't feel for years. So, I mean, you know, and this happened not on the sweet spot. It's not like, oh, I just want to get on the sweet spot. No, there are a lot of benefits that happen along the way until the sweet spot that are very positive, but sometimes people are not very aware because maybe they don't make reports like me, or I made videos as well every week to see myself, because we have a hard time to see ourselves, how we change, how we move. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Keep a report, be patient, and always read the book if you have to. And remember, when you buy the book, you're not giving, you're not making Daphne rich, which is a pity because she deserves. She spends a lot of time on her Facebook page and helping people, but you're actually giving money. All the profits go to the fundraise for further studies. I already gave my personal donation, and I already bought 3 books. One I offered to my neurologist, another one I offered to my nutritionist, and now I have another one. And it's good to check once in a while because we forget how it works, the protocol. So now, Marco, do you want to be next?
Yeah, I think. Well, my story, it's a bit more complicated because when I met the therapy, I met it not through Daphne, but through another person who's called Roy, who is in the protocol from the beginning. For sure knows Roy because he has a page also. But Roy stated that the dose should be the highest possible. So for about 2 years, I always tried to keep my dose the highest that I could stand, because he was saying that Dr. Costantini said that the therapeutic dose was 4 grams per day, 4,000 milligrams per day. And so I tried to keep the dose so the most high that I could stand, and so I was constantly overdosing, I think. But some people really do work with that dose. But I have touched the 4 grams per day, but it was 1 day or 2. My head got too dizzy and I had to get back. So I was on about 2,000 milligrams to 25,000 milligrams per day for a long time. And then I met Daphne's work, met her book, and she was saying the things from a totally different perspective. it was the right dose for each person, not the highest dose that we could stand. Even so, I think that even in higher doses and being overdosed, I think even so, it did something for me. My disease didn't increase like I saw in other people. So after I made those Daphne's work, I started to lower my doses until I try to find a dose that I feel comfortable. And I was about 150 and then 1,000 milligrams. And over time, I've been decreasing my dose. Then I jumped to 700 milligrams and then to 500 milligrams. Last, I was on about 200 milligrams. And last week, I tried to cut, to make a stop and try to see how it worked. And it worked awful. It was, I cut my B1 for 1 week, and by the third day I was fine. By the fifth day I was bad, and by the eighth day I was horrible. So
but that
I
means you're
restarted.
not overdosed, so you didn't need to make the break, right?
No, I didn't overdose. I was trying to make a fresh start to see if I could find my sweet spot better than if I could find a spot there that was better than I was before. And so I think energy is one of the things that this therapy brings me more. With 16 years of Parkinson, I still run. I run usually every Fridays and every Sundays, and every Tuesday is about 10 kilometers per day. So that energy must come from somewhere, and I think it's the B1, no doubt. Well, then I spoke with Daphne when she started to translate their book to another languages. I spoke with Daphne and offered myself to do the translation to Portuguese, because I saw that the language was a big barrier. People could access the information because there was no information in Portuguese. So I offered to do the translation so other people in Portuguese could access the information. And then,
sorry, Daphne?
I'm so grateful to all the translators who have given up their time for no fee, no money, generously have offered their services to translate. Marco obviously is one of those who translated into Portuguese.
You want to thank them, you mean? I didn't hear the beginning.
Yes, I want to thank all the translators.
It's amazing, right?
well, translation was the first battle, because the second battle was to get that information to patients and to doctors. And my experience with doctors is that they automatically refuse the information that we are showing them. So it took a long time. It's taking a long time, but I think I've seen some changes. My neuro, for example, for 5 years I've been talking with him about B1 therapy and what's doing for me, and he always dismissed it. But after I showed him the last videos that I gathered from people I've been helping, the last consultation, when I entered the room, the first thing he asked me was, "So, how's your B1 doing?"
Doing
Now
good.
he's curious, right? Now he's curious.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, because when he saw the videos before and after the therapy from some people I've been helping, he was amazing. He couldn't tell
A reason, I'd say,
that,
a rational reason, let's say.
yeah, the reason is always placebo. And
Mm.
we know it's not placebo.
Actually, I want to ask, can I ask,
Uh,
Daphne, what do you say when people justify the effect as placebo?
Sorry, say this again. What do I think when?
When people say, oh, it just works, it might be placebo.
Oh, placebo.
Yeah.
Placebo will only last for 6 months, they have found.
Oh.
Okay. So if
So
it
you
lasts
can't
for
get-
7 years, it cannot be placebo.
You can't apparently maintain placebo for longer than 6 months. So the research says.
Okay.
Mm.
So I'm 6.5
Yeah.
years
we have a
beyond.
Yeah. It's interesting to know these things. Go on, Mark. Sorry, I interrupted.
yeah. We have a friend, Chandra, who said at a point that he told me that when he does B1, the sense of smell comes back immediately. So he says that cannot be placebo. If he stops the B1, the sense of smell goes away. And when he restarts it, the sense of smell comes back again. So that's impossible to be
For
placebo.
me, it's like I was very skeptical. I didn't believe it was going to work. And I think placebo has to work when you believe in it, right? And I was not really into it, to be honest. And then I saw the results and I was like, wait, there's something here, right? So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, the doctors also don't know how we feel and it's hard to explain. So it's, yeah. And they have their right. I mean, there's not scientific proofs, enough scientific proofs to recommend the B1 therapy. But they honestly, they also cannot say no because it's available and it's not illegal. But I think, and that's why I always talk, they should know. It's also good for them to understand what the patients are doing, and who knows, maybe one day my doctor will collect all my reports that I give to her and get together with her colleagues and talk seriously about this. Who knows? I hope for that.
Can I
Just point to one more thing there.
Daphne,
Okay, go ahead.
go ahead.
Daphne.
Can I just mention the website that we've also got? The website address is b1parkinson.org. And the website is really for health professionals.
I'm going to add that website on my links, on the links on my profile. I don't have that yet, but I'm going to add after this chat, okay?
But it's always a good website to tell your doctor about.
That's nice. Yeah, like a good reference. Yeah. Thanks, Daphne.
Just point to one other thing that I found by accident, that there are some people that react to really, really low doses.
Yeah, let's point out, Daphne, can you remind me of that? So what is considered a high dose of B1?
Well, anything over what the average healthy person needs, which is 1.2 milligrams.
1.2 milligrams. Yeah.
Anything above 1.2 milligrams is a high dose.
Yeah. So for some people, high dose of B1 thiamine can be 2 milligrams. For some people, it can be 2,000 milligrams.
I know someone who is taking oral 25 milligrams per day.
How much? Sorry, I didn't hear.
25 milligrams a day.
Okay.
And I know someone on 4,000.
Yeah.
So anything and everything in between.
Yeah. There's not one size for all, right? Go on, Marco. Go on.
Yeah. Just calling the attention on this point. The protocol, I think, was updated now to a starting dose of 200 milligrams.
It will be. It's ongoing, right, Daphne?
Sorry, what did Marco say?
Marco was pointing that the protocol will be updated to start the dose at 200 milligrams.
Yeah, we've republished all the books.
Yeah.
And now the intramuscular solution, we're recommending 225 milligrams per week.
Yeah.
The oral dose is 200 milligrams daily, and the sublingual dose is 150 milligrams 3 days a week.
Okay, it's
so 50 a week.
So if someone buys the book now, it's already updated?
Yes, it's been updated about 3 or 4 days ago.
Okay.
So it's all 24 books.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for that info, for the update. Go on,
But anybody who goes on the Facebook page can go into the files and they can print off a new page 32 for their book.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I always recommend go to the Facebook page of Daphne B1 Therapy, because all the updates are there. You can read questions and histories of so many patients who are being successful and with different doses, and I think we can learn a lot on that page. And besides, Daphne takes her time every day to answer to the questions. But yeah, go on, Marco. You were finished.
Yeah. Just saying that although the start dose it's now 200 milligrams, it was 500 milligrams, but I have been following some people, and some of them were getting results with doses way below that. Some people are getting results with 2 or 3 milligrams per day.
That can be a high dose for someone. Then that can be enough. Yeah. I guess to get to that amount, you need to wait way longer, right? You need to make so many tests, but it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So the range is very big. It's going from 1-2 milligrams per day to 4,000 milligrams per day, and what works for one person, it doesn't work to another.
Yeah.
So you have to stick to the protocol.
Go on,
to do some research looking into what factors influence dosage requirements. But we're hoping to do a study quite soon on that. Because at the moment we think that weight makes a difference, age makes a difference, gender makes a difference, length of time since diagnosis makes a difference. The severity of symptoms make a difference. All these will influence dosage requirements.
That would be great to have a formula, right? Considering all those elements will be super helpful. So I really hope that research goes on, and one day we will be helped by it. Marco, go on.
Yeah, that's it's my story. So now I spend also a lot of time, because I have a considerable number of persons that contact me, and every week there's someone new who is asking for help, and I've been trying to help. So I have a considerable experience, and I would like to leave this highlighted that many people are getting results with 100 milligrams, with 50 milligrams, with 20 milligrams. So you have to be very attentive to your symptoms and try to understand that if you are needing more or less B1. And yeah,
Thank you so
that's
much,
it.
Marco. I think most of all, we need to give time for it to work. And we need to understand our bodies and not be anxious, you know, for results. Because I think that's what destroys the whole
Yeah, because
thing. Um, and
yeah,
it really helps to make a report, to write down, like create a diary. How much did we take, for how long, what do we feel now? And then with this kind of information, you can go, I'm repeating again, to the Facebook page, and you can say, Daphne, this happened. What do you think this means, you know? And I think it's, to do this therapy alone, it's very difficult. I talk for myself. I had Marco by my side, and it helped me tremendously, and I didn't quit because of him. But it's very easy to quit because of this anxiety to get the results really fast. But yeah, so now Rose, it's your turn.
Okay, I'm on.
Tell us about
I'll,
your history,
I'll,
your B1.
I'll keep it short. But yeah, I started about 2 years ago when I met Daphne, and I was already taking magnesium. And I took, I started on 200, and I did it very slowly. Took 200 for a good few weeks, even a couple of months, and then sort of I went up to 300. 400, and I was on 400 for quite a while, and I took breaks in between, and I did notice that it, as you said, it helped lengthen the on times, and my energy was always good. My walking, I did a lot of walks, and I do a lot of exercise still. I do 3 times a week, high intensity. I do tap dancing. I do singing and whatnot. So I'm quite active, So, but then I noticed in November, this just before Christmas, my walking was very bad, and I was trying to sort of, like I call it a reset. It's just my own words. I sort of look at everything that I'm doing, my medication, my activities, and I realized I was on 400 milligrams of B1 for a long time. So I just upped it a little bit. And the difference in a couple of weeks was amazing, for my walking and stuff. So for some reason, I went up to 800, and it was fine, But then coming up to this live chat and the talking we've been doing in the last couple of weeks, I took a break. I'm on my second week, and my walking is terrible, ever since I stopped it. And so I'm going to go start back on 200 at the weekend. And I thought I may as well start low again and just see. So it's always good to sort of come off it to see, is it benefiting you? I think for me, that's how I know. I tend to forget how good it is when I'm on it, But when I come off it, I go, oh, that's what it's doing, Yeah. It
I
reminds me,
I made the actually this year I made the 3 week break, like a test. And it was
Yeah,
not
yeah,
good. It was
yeah,
not good. Because all the symptoms that I forgot, like that tiredness, that dragging myself to bed, waking up, dragging myself, not being even able to take my daughter to school because I was so tired in the
yeah,
morning, it came back after the break. So it
yeah,
didn't get worse. It just, all the benefits that I assumed they were normal
yeah,
because of the B1. And yeah, that's
that's it.
why we're doing this chat.
Yeah. Well, that's what, well, as you yourself or Daphne was saying earlier on, if you come off it and you're feeling better, then you're overdosed. But I came off it and I haven't felt better at all, so it's
So in
working.
that case,
Yeah,
you didn't overdose. You didn't overdose.
no. But at the same time, I still think I don't want to go straight back onto 800, just straight in. So I'll do the 200 for a while and work my way up again.
Daphne, you were saying something?
No, I wasn't saying anything. I am wondering whether Rose should go a bit higher than 200.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll start in 200 for a few days and then maybe go quicker than the couple of weeks, maybe. I'd like to feel that 800 buzz again, but I don't, like you say, I don't want to rush it,
I think we have to discuss that with
Yeah,
Daphne.
I think we will. Yeah, well, we'll pop out for a coffee in Clare.
Yes.
That's great.
If it's a good excuse for a coffee, it's great.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Can I
We'll
just
do
make
it.
a point about people are throwing numbers around?
Yeah,
Mm.
sure.
Most Marco and Rose are talking about oral administration.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
People get quite confused when they try and take sublingual B1
Mhm.
that use an oral dose. There was somebody yesterday, and her husband, she was giving him 200 milligrams of sublingual per day,
Mm.
or
Oh.
100 a week,
Uh-huh.
when in fact 150 is what she could have been giving him a week.
Mm.
So
Indeed.
oral doses are a lot higher than sublingual because the oral tablet or capsule has to go through the digestive system, and a lot is
Yeah.
lost there, which is why you have to start off with such high amount
Yeah.
compared to muscular injection, sublingual or patch.
Mm.
Yeah.
So people need to be careful
When you're
that they
saying,
right with the right administration.
yeah. Well, mine was oral, so just to clarify. Yeah.
HCL, like me.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that's me. That's my story.
Rose, do you want to add something, or should we go through to the questions?
Go to the questions, I think. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the questions. First question, let me put them here so you can all read. What kind of B complex do you take, or levels that are not too high for B6 levels? Daphne, do you want to answer to that? What is the limit of the B6?
Yeah, it's actually three things you need to watch in B complex. First of all, you buy a B complex that doesn't have magnesium or any other mineral in it, or vitamin C or something. Yeah, B
Okay.
vitamins. And then make sure the B1 isn't too high.
Mm-hmm.
So that needs to be quite low, otherwise it will affect your dosage of B1. Now, B3 now needs watching because there's some research that's come out to say that there's some cardiac problems possible if you take a high B3.
Mm-hmm.
But B6 is the one that if you take it too much B6, it can stop the levodopa working.
Mm. So what do you recommend when it comes to this complex? I think my complex, it's around, each B has 1 point something, maximum 2 milligrams of each B, and doesn't have vitamin C, and we should not take that with vitamin C actually. So do you think that's a good recommendation?
I didn't catch what your
You didn't,
ingredients were.
sorry, you didn't hear? No, it's not more than 2 milligrams. You cannot hear me?
No, 2 milligrams of B6 is fine.
Yeah.
You actually do need some B6. So there are people on the Facebook group that are trying to find a B complex that has no B6 in it. But we do need some B6. And if you're on levodopa medication, you can go up, or not on any medication, you can go up to 12 milligrams of B6.
Okay.
But if you take levodopa without carbidopa, or you take Mucuna and nothing else, you have to stick at 5 milligrams of B6. Because it's the carbidopa in the synthetic levodopa that protects you from losing the levodopa and stopping the levodopa getting through to the brain to convert dopamine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very important info. Actually, I didn't know that. Thank you, Daphne. Let's move on. What was the updated sublingual dose per day, Daphne? That's for you. The new update.
The new update Jade, is 1/2 tablet on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
1/2 tablet of sublingual?
That's a 50 milligram.
50 milligrams,
So
okay.
150 milligram of sublingual on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Sorry, three times or 2 times? I didn't hear.
3 times.
50 milligram of sublingual on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Okay, 3 times per week. Okay,
3 times a week, yes.
okay. Let's move on. Do you take, this is for me. So Rita, do you take your doses every day, as recommended, every 2 days? I guess I take every day. And when I make the break, I still take the complex B and the magnesium. So I don't understand every 2 days, the question.
I think there's a little confusion about the B complex and magnesium because Dr. Costantini gave a slow release B complex twice a week to his patients. So people think they ought to take it twice a week.
Ah,
But I have a feeling that Dr. Costantini gave his patients B complex twice a week because he saw them twice a week when they came for their B1. So it was just convenient. But normal B complex, not the slow release, but normal B complex, most people take every day.
yeah.
But only a small amount is required. So
Yeah.
if you've got one with high dosage, you could take it either a half dose of it or a dose every other day. That's quite feasible.
Mm.
You don't need a lot of B complex.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't know that. Yeah, I know that. So it is also a question from me that I had that I think can be useful. There's one issue with the B1, the HCl, is that we cannot find in the market less than 100 milligrams, and there are capsules and there are pills. Pills, it's easier because you can cut them. So you can have like 50 milligrams per day or even cut in 25 milligrams per day. But like you said, Daphne, you space the dose. So it's okay if you have to go lower on the dose to space through the week, right? Okay.
You can space out anything up to a week.
Yeah, and until 1 week. Okay. Because otherwise your body also feels the need for it. Yeah, but that's also something to point out. Yes, I will save this chat. No worries. How did you take the medication? Has tablet? So I took this is also for me. I took the oral B1 HCl. Yeah, that's what was easier for me to buy. That's what I bought. Let's see more questions. Personal report. Would you advise in overdose? Would you advise? Okay. So imagine, would you advise if you overdose to reduce the dose for half or less?
Now what I say with overdose is if the overdose has happened quite quickly, then reduce your dose quite a lot.
Makes sense.
If you enjoy success for a longish time before feeling overdose, then reduce the dose by a little.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So we also have to understand how, I mean, since there's no formula out there yet to help us with the dose, we also have to understand this. Actually, Marco, you also had, because you follow a lot of people who are doing the therapy, you also got this feeling, right? That people who overdose really fast need to reduce a lot to go back. Can you talk from your experience as well?
Yes, I see. I have seen people that, for example, they start with 100 milligrams, and in 1 week they start to overdose. So they have to make a break and they have to start with at least half
And
the dose.
maybe that is not even enough, no?
And
Because
some
it was
people,
pretty fast.
yeah, and there are some other people like you did, for example, that you took about 3 months to overdose, and so that means that the dose you were taking was a little higher
Yeah.
than
I can
it
give
should
you a
be.
report
So
after I started with 5 milligrams. So I feel good now, but I can catch up after some months. When I reach the sweet spot, I'll let you know. Okay? We make a deal.
Marco says no reports.
Let me see. What was the I think I mentioned most of the questions. Do people measure? Another question about the sublingual. How do people measure? I know, but this is you have to cut. How do people measure out 2 to 3 milligrams only from sublingual or oral?
2 to 3 milligrams.
Yes.
That's way lower than.
that's because what I spoke probably when most people that need very low doses, they're getting from 8 mLs. There are small pills that which a quarter of pill, I think it's about
But it's
4 to 5
sublingual.
milligrams.
It's sublingual.
Or they're using
You
it's sublingual, but it can be used.
Sorry, Daphne, can you say? Sorry.
We are using 3 different sorts of sublingual. One of them is 100 milligrams per tablet, and people cut that in half or cut it a quarter, which takes you down to 25 milligrams. The other product we're using is EZ or Barry melts, and they're both 12.5 milligrams. So they can be cut in half and you can get 6.25. I don't know if anybody's on any smaller than that. But spitting tablets out is another way. But on the Facebook page, under featured at the top, there's I've written quite a lot on the different sublingual doses and the products.
Okay. So, go on.
Well, another strategy that I used, it was to use only the B complex. That there are some B complexes that are really low doses of B1, and use the B complex only without the B1. That's how I could reach to very low doses.
Yeah, but if you have to reduce, then you also have to change to be complex. I think that's a little bit more difficult to adjust for a future.
Yeah, but even the B complex can be cut the pill.
I think we have to reach the companies who produces these supplements and just ask them to make lower doses. We need to make some pressure in the market.
Yeah, but this happens with just very few people. Most of the people need 100, 200, and 500 and more milligrams to reach the sweet spot.
So, since we don't have more questions, would you like to give final tips, or do you think you said everything you wanted? Marco, final tips.
I think we lost Rose.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they're back. Yep.
Oh, yep. She's back. Well, the best thing I can say is that I have stopped the B1 for 1 week. I was planning 2 weeks, and I have to restart because I couldn't bear it anymore. It was so I was feeling so miserable without the B1 that it was amazing. It's amazing what the B1 can do for us, and I just realized how much it was doing for me when I stopped it.
Yeah, and
So
don't forget you have
all
Parkinson
the
for 15 years, right? So although 16
16.
already. So all these symptoms add up, right? And you don't even realize until you don't have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's the best tip I can give.
Rose, you wanna?
Yeah,
give
no, I'm the same as
last tip?
Marco, really. Yeah, I'm on the same as Marco because I think I've realized myself how good the B1 is. As I say, you remember every time you come off it rather than when you're on it, because when you're on it, you're on a routine and life just seems normal, you know. And then when you have a bit of a crash, you're like, oh my God, well, I do have Parkinson's. Where did that
Oh,
come from?
oh,
Forgot.
now I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. What was I thinking, you know? But yeah, no. So I'm looking forward to get back to my proper dosage. You know.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will find.
Oh,
Just
I'll
need to.
find it. I'll find it.
Daphne, do you want to give some final remarks, final tips?
I just like to mention that the people who are hearing about the B1 for the first time, we've probably made it sound very complicated, but in fact, the book lays it all out. And if you join the Facebook group, there's a lot of support. And I think, listen to what Rose and Marco said, we've shown that it's worth it, even though it is a bit tricky to find the right dose. The benefits totally outweigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Daphne. Thank you so much. Yeah, so actually I also have some tips. One of the main tips is to keep the book next to you, because in fact there's just a few pages that can keep us reminding us what is the protocol and what the rules that we should follow. I think I have to point out the most common mistakes, the most easy, are definitely not waiting enough time. Breaks are important. I was very hesitant in making breaks after I felt a loss of the benefits of the B1, because I was afraid to lose what I gained, right? But I made a break for 2 weeks. I felt so much better during the break, which meant, just like the protocol says, that I was overdosing and I needed to decrease the dose. And it works just like the protocol. So I really trust in it. You have to trust the process, right? So I really trust in it after experiencing it. I also have to say, don't be afraid to talk with your doctors. And this is something, for me, it's really important. I feel when I talk with people, they're so afraid to be criticized, you know, to be called whatever. I think it's important to empower patients so they can have a normal conversation with their doctors, that they don't feel inferior to their doctors, and the doctors can learn with the patients. So I have this attitude, and I will always do my best to pass this attitude, because I think that's the only way we can get better. You know, they can learn more, we can learn more, we can work as a team. So even if they don't know what is this therapy about, offer them the book, you know, make them curious. Maybe they will talk with another doctor that has someone also doing the therapy. And at the end, instead of being like patients against doctors when it comes to supplements, we will be working and talking together about this, and specifically about the B1 therapy. Then I already mentioned, but I want to re-say it, like keep a diary, report, make videos, because this is also proofs. Show it to your doctor, you know, show it to yourself. You know, otherwise you have your busy life, you don't notice the little change. Also, don't focus just on the symptom that it's really annoying to you. Focus in all the symptoms. Be aware of all the symptoms. Don't expect to nail the sweet spot, because until you get to the sweet spot, and I experienced that, you feel better, and that's already good, you know. So enjoy the way, and don't expect, and don't be frustrated because you didn't get where most of the people say they got. That's not it. That's not the whole, I mean, it's the goal, but the benefits happen along the way, not just at the end. And yeah, don't postpone breaks, because they are very important. And check again the Facebook group. It's really, really useful. And yeah, that's it. I don't know if we could help someone out there with this chat. I'm sorry that we had some technical issues, but at the end, Daphne managed to join our chat via voice. And I'm happy with this.
Rita,
Marco?
one thing, yeah, one thing that it's very important, it's that when you feel good, do not increase your dose.
Yeah.
It's a very common mistake. People feel good and think, okay, I'm good with this dose. If I add some more to this dose, I will feel better. That's one of the most common mistakes, and people get worse then. In this therapy, usually the best thing to do when you're not getting well is to reduce the therapy, not increase.
True.
So do not increase your dose.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. I think this was just the beginning of this conversation. Let's continue maybe on the Facebook page of the B1, where Daphne will answer to all our questions. I'm so happy some people were patient to our third and fourth trial to make this live happen. But at the end, we made it. We are winners.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for facilitating.
You're welcome. It was really a pleasure to do this and to get to know you better. It also helped myself, I have to say. I feel like now I'm in the right track, like I was before. Yeah. It really helps. It's like a support group, you know, and I feel that on the Facebook page of Daphne. We are a group. We are there to support each other. And I think we should really use these tools that we have. And yeah, and just enjoy life the best way we can with Parkinson's, obviously.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Bye. Have a nice evening.
Bye, Daphne. Bye, Marco. Bye, Rita.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, Rita.
Talk soon.
Okay.